So grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true. And good evening and welcome to the Traffic Report. It's 12:02 in the Eastern Time sector. How are you, Howie?
I'm doing well, John. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm here. I'm awake. I have a heartbeat. Every day above ground's a good day.
That's true. That is true.
All right. Little disappointed.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. We had planned to have Elizabeth Ann on tonight, and I've heard. We spent most of the week, kind of talking back and forth, and just the story was, but not that different than a lot of the other ones that we've heard and we continue to hear. But my God, just unbelievable what she has been a survivor of, and unfortunately, she's in the process of some legal action to get her kids back, and at the last minute, her attorney advised her it'd probably be a good idea not to come on, which is a shame, but her case is way more important than appearing on here, and she'll get her chance. And I think and all of these people, they're so determined and so resourceful and so just amazing, angelic. That's the only adjective I keep coming up with, and she was no different and is no different, and we've let her know anything we can do for her, we will absolutely do, and we'll miss her tonight, but we've kept some of the subject matter, and preparing for the show this week, we were looking at because she is a CSA survivor out of the Amish community, so we've kind of stuck with that, and so that's the name of that right. Tune. And
I asked you.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I asked John before, even though she had to cancel, how much, are we at liberty to discuss? But I think we'll just stay away from it. And but she, at the very least, she has, opened our eyes to another group that, for me being from Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Amish are, they're very well known, but, as a group, but very little is known about them except, very closed society. And it's not something that would ever have been on my radar, but, we're living in times where, we know this is everywhere, and any group, any organization, any walk of life, any way of life, needs to be examined, because it happens. Nobody is immune to this, of what's going on.
No, and we, generally stay out of religion and politics. I mean, it's not about any of that, and this isn't, what we'll be covering tonight is not about the religion. It's about things that are going on in that particular group. Their religion happens to be Amish. That's all. And it's no different than when we talk about the Catholic Church or the Church of England or Scientology or any, other, religion. It's got nothing to do with the religion per se. It's the abuse that goes on within it, and that that's all. And to tell you the truth too, it was kind of shocking to me. You think, both of us were like, we've been doing this for a long time, and we're doing it a long time before we ever started doing the show. But it was kind of like with USA Gymnastics. I heard that and I was like, what? And kind of, with the Amish too, you see them in the horse and buggies and, their simple way of life. But, that's just really naive. It's just so, pervasive. And see, and that tells me something too. And I kind of knew this, but I don't really think about it or probably haven't researched it enough. But this stuff has been going on a long, long time. And it's not like you can say, so some of the groups we talk about say, well, they're influenced by, social media and television and this and that. You can't say that, about the Amish. I mean, they are, no radio, no TV. I mean, but, and I believe this too, even other cultures and even, back for a long, long time, that wherever this started, and it starts in a society, and it just mushrooms because you've got victims upon victims that become, abusers, and it's a snowball. So yeah, but just for me, I don't think, when I see, an Amish person, going down the road in a horse and buggy, I don't think, wow, there's a pedophile. I don't, but obviously, there I go thinking again, because the information that we're both, coming across it's just if as pervasive, if not more, in these closed societies. So,
well, I mean, the one thing, when we've, you've seen Witness, I assume. Movie
Yes.
Witness.
Yes.
Okay. Right. And I haven't seen it in years, but the one thing that I do remember from that is that the quote unquote the elders of the group, I mean, seem to have had like an enormous amount of power over the group. So if you have some of these people who are in charge, and they're a part of this, they're going to get away with just about anything, because you don't from what I remember, you don't question the elders of the Amish village. And now, I mean, I have not taken, I'll be very frank, I haven't taken enough time to even like looking at this and culture, and I'm honestly not up to speed, but it's just another thing, and we're just putting it out there that okay, if somebody's got time, let's start picking apart this culture. And I know there's a television show which I found strange that the Amish Mafia or something that was on.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah, Breaking Amish or something, or whatever.
Yeah. And I actually watched a few of those shows just to. My wife loves them, so naturally I love them too.
Right? Yeah. Right. It's like my girlfriend's a from Pulp Fiction. My girlfriend's a vegetarian, which pretty much makes me a vegetarian also.
Yeah. So, but what was really troubling to me, just looking at this as little as we have, was what you're talking about, like the elders and any of these, or it's like questioning David Miscavige in Scientology. You just don't do it. And the most distressing part of this is what we started to uncover was it seems like in some of these, or practically all of these cases, they do what they call spiritual counseling, and they move these pedophiles from community to community, just like the Catholic Church moving their priests around.
No, I was just getting ready to say, gee, that sounds awfully familiar.
yeah. Took a page out of the.
You're a pedophile. Move. Yeah, we'll just move you around.
Yeah.
Maybe shake it off you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of information out there. They did and we've got some great links. And look in the replay. There's about 5 or 6 of them, some great articles, and one of them was a show that ran on Dateline in 2010 that details the abuse of one of these girls that broke away. It's called the name of the show was called Innocence Lost, and I mean, you know, you can just I'm looking for it. If I can find the actual video of the show, I will be posting it. But you just reading this transcript is just awful, and there was never anything done. I mean, this was uncovered. I mean, the girl's mother found the 17-year-old brother having sex with the 13-year-old girl, and guess who gets punished? You know, and you know, the whole cultural, societal spin that they have on this is just really.
Well, the Amish tend. I mean, the Amish tend to work outside the framework of even the court systems, right?
Yeah. Well, they're, and that was another thing we were kind of talking about.
Right.
That they get a lot of breaks in the law that other religions don't get. You know, and as far as I know, they're pretty much, you know, they don't get drafted. They don't pay income tax, as far as I know, federal income tax, and that, you know, and I don't agree with that. You know, I'm all for any, you know, if you want to be in the spaghetti, the flying spaghetti monster religion, go ahead. You know, and you know, if you're considered a religion by the government, you know, you have those protections, but it should, you know, Catholics have to pay taxes. You know, Catholics get drafted. I mean, it needs to be uniform across the board, and what I'm seeing just in what we've covered in this is that they allow them to administer their own law, you know, which is you have to get some of these, you know, survivors that literally have to run away and break out of these places and really raise hell to get, you know, law enforcement to get involved. And a lot of these cases, they just move. The one case that was just really egregious, I think it was in Wisconsin or Missouri, that the girl had finally, you know, gotten away, you know, gotten out, reported all the crimes, and they moved to another community and back to Pennsylvania, and the case was never filed, you know. And I mean, that says to me that, you know, like we've been saying all along, that's a federal matter, and if you're that, I think that's called interstate flight to avoid prosecution. You know, if you know, if I robbed a bank, you know, and they were going to prosecute me in Virginia, and I moved to Florida, I think that would be another charge. So why should this be any different? I don't. There's a lot of area here that needs to be, you know, there needs to be a lot of oversight, and it's just like any of the other areas. I mean, it needs close scrutiny, and you know, if they're getting any breaks in laws that apply to everybody else, that's just not, you know, I don't think you can use your religion as an excuse to violate, you know, the law of the land. I don't think that's proper or allowed.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't know how it works, but you know, when we're talking about what we're talking about right now, you know, somebody's going to have to. But who knows? I'll tell you one thing. I'm sure they have very good lawyers. You know, I'm sure they're not without, you know, people that are very well aware of what, the laws of the land. So
I guess, but the weird part, one of these cases I was reading that okay, this was in Wisconsin, and these guys were charged with bestiality and aggravated child abuse of kids down to 5. They had no attorney, and they were released on their own recognizance. And those were the two that the family moved them to Pennsylvania, and then the charges were never, it was never pursued. So that really, a microscope really needs to.
Well, are there different sexes?
Oh yeah,
okay,
yeah. There's different.
I don't know that
offshoots of it, and they're in different locations. And this particular one, they're called the Schwarzentrubers. That this young girl, Slaybaugh is her name, and they were abusing her since she was 11 years old. A relative started that, and then her brother took over from him, and just continued the abuse. And I'm going through some of this here, but yeah, that was the sect she wasn't allowed to read Nancy Drew mysteries. that's the one that her mom caught her and punished her, and the perpetrator was given a slap on the wrist with the elders, and they something like they say too, well, they get shunned, but all these cases that I've read, they might get like a 3-month suspension, or it's like fighting in a baseball game. It's just ridiculous. Let's see, just going through the details of this. Yeah, but from 11 years old, she said she felt she had no choice but to go along. Let's see.
And and you couldn't even, you probably couldn't even go to the police. I mean, you don't have any social work. It's just the community. There's no outside. There's no outside or very little outside interaction. With whatever the outside world. So, if your own community is not going to do anything about this, you're pretty much stuck. You don't know any other way of life.
Yeah, and they don't. I mean, generally they do not go outside that community for anything. I'm not even sure if you murdered somebody if they go to the police. But
I have no idea. But I mean, we're talking about child rape, and we're talking about the worst crimes. Well,
let's see. This girl was raped every. It's like every. Wait a minute. I'm trying to look for the. Every week for 2 years, often on Sunday afternoons, after church. Let's see what happened to him. Let's see.
Which case? I'm sorry, John. Which case is this?
This is a case that Dateline did a story on back in 2010. The woman's name is Slaybaugh. Okay. Let's see. Crabell says the Amish handle sexual abuse and most other offenses within their own community. To report a crime to outsiders is unacceptable. But that's what Anna ended up doing. She says after 3 years of abuse, she managed to get to a neighbor's phone, call for help. Eventually, child abuse investigators talked to her and alerted the Ohio police. But the allegations of rape were never pursued. Before detectives launched a criminal investigation, her family moved to Pennsylvania, deep into Amish country. Here, Anna says she was pushed to the breaking point. So they moved her, and it continued. This is just unacceptable by any stretch of the imagination. For I don't care what religious protections they think they have. This is not acceptable, and if the local authorities can't pursue it, then it needs to be a federal matter. God.
You know, I just did a quick search and didn't read the article. Like I said, we were caught a little off guard with not having our guest on, and we were hoping to learn more from her. So, but I mean, there's a 2004 article, from ABC News, titled "Sexual Abuse in the Amish Community." I have not read it, but
they take this girl to Pennsylvania, and one of their little and sometimes they do this to kids anyway, so they don't have to pay for their dental work. But another way to enforce silence, they take her to an Amish dentist and pull all her teeth, and that's what happened to her. She's quoted, "You're an animal. You're treated like one. You look like one, and you don't feel human at that point." And this is a 16-year-old girl that gets all her teeth pulled, and her mom said to her, "I guess you won't be talking for a while." So that's wow.
Yeah. This is
you're going through this, and
I don't even know.
Repeatedly raping her. Third brother pleaded guilty to having oral sex with her 6-year-old sister. I mean, this is just.
But we just let them be because they're their own. They police themselves.
Yeah.
I mean that's cult to me. Not for nothing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, well, and I mean the good news is she did get out, and she is, a survivor now. But I mean this just really needs a federal probe. I mean from the Justice Department. That's what they're for. But in going through this too, there are some good. One of the best sources I came across was. And she's on Twitter too. We tweeted this out. Her name is Mary Demuth, Demuth, and she's at MaryDemuth on Twitter. And she wrote a book in 2013 called Bonnets, Buggies, and Sexual Abuse. And it's sexual abuse in closed faith communities. And I've got to get this book. I was, you can read some of it, on the website here, but I'm going to buy this book because she goes in. It's not just girls that this is happening to. She's had adult men, come, forward to her in this book, and you really should check it out. I definitely will.
I'm looking up how many. There are nearly 250,000 Amish people in America and Canada, according to Ohio State researchers. It's more than double the estimated population in 1989 of 100,000. So we're talking 250,000 people. So we're not, this is, it's not a small group, and it's just something we never think about. Like I said, in Pennsylvania, you go out and you go to the Dutch country, and you buy their stuff and you see them, and they're riding around in the buggies, and obviously the last thing on your mind that anything sinister is going on with these people. But obviously now, my thoughts are going to be, changed forever.
Yeah, and I guess there's a you can go on Mary's website. It's Mary MaryDemuth.com. It has the book, and there's one Pastor Larry Kaufman in Ohio, and he is trying. He's a Mennonite, which is they are closely kind of related with the Amish. Mm-hmm, but that's what he's trying to do to raise awareness about this, and they're trying to break through these cultural mores that are just, killing that
Well,
community.
I guess we have to, start trying to figure out. I mean, is this something generational? Is this something part of the community that we're not made aware of? Listen, let's be realistic. Girls, hundreds of years ago, age 13, 14, basically once they hit puberty, they were getting married off. I mean, they were considered. It wasn't.
I totally believe that culturally, back through time, that has been, that's where a lot of this started, because
right. And their mindset. Well, the Amish mindset is still hundreds of years ago.
Yes, it absolutely is. Yeah.
But
this is a quote from that pastor. It says, often paradoxical truth is that though we are injured in a broken community and sexual abuse typifies broken, God often asks us to heal in good community, a huge risk, particularly when our current community minimizes our pain or listens more to the perpetrator than the victim. So obviously they have some spiritual leaders that know what's going on here, and they need support to do what they're trying to do, which is trying to and the cycle must be stopped. And that's
Sure.
How often do we say that?
But they're probably they're probably afraid of their entire way of life being, I mean, this is really, I haven't thought, like I said, I haven't spent a lot of time in the last, maybe in my entire lifetime thinking about the Amish, but now it's like, wait a second, how do they even get away with this stuff? How do they get away with, like, they police themselves, like, everyone just leaves them alone, like they just work outside the framework. How did that even, if there was a group, now, if they, basically said that we want to, live outside the framework of, basically U.S. laws, and, it would not go over so well. Some groups have done it and they immediately get labeled a cult. But it seems like the Amish, it's just, they're allowed to do it, and then they become like a tour. Like I said, at least in Pennsylvania, they're like a tourist attraction and part of the, and they draw. I mean, the fact that the Amish are in the middle, in this Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I mean, they're big business, because people travel there to sort of like just, like at a zoo almost, just peek at these people.
And you really have to wonder, with the corruption, whose pockets are getting lined, and are they setting that case? And you talk about that one because you know more about that one than I do, the one in Bucks County. But they were targeting Amish children. Why is that? That seems an odd target. For your run-of-the-mill pedophile. What
lack of education, lack of formal education.
Well,
I
guess that's possible, but you would think. I mean, they're averse to strangers. You would think that that would be the last, people they would go after. It's an insular community. They know everybody that goes in and out of it. They don't mix with strangers. That doesn't make sense to me. But talk a little bit about that case, because they were trading children. Is that correct?
The children were gifted.
Gifted.
That was the term that was used. Essentially, this couple had broken away from the Amish, and it was never exactly clear how they came in contact with this man. His name is Lee Kaplan. The same last name as myself, just with a K instead of a C. But he helped them out. Lee Kaplan found these Amish people and help them out of some type of financial difficulty after they had broken away from the Amish. The reports made Kaplan out to be some type of cult figure, religious something or other, and basically as repayment for helping them out financially, he asked for their daughters, and they had, God, I believe like 7 daughters. I can get it. They had a lot, and they
yeah.
And
where do the pedophiles hang out? Where are the kids? Yeah, these are like
yeah. So it wasn't even exactly clear how he came into contact with them, because this is in Bucks County. This is probably 40 minutes, about a half hour north of Philadelphia. The Amish would be about an hour and a half west of Pennsylvania. So I guess they left the Amish. They settled there, got themselves into some financial difficulty. This man helps them out, and he felt comfortable enough to ask them for their daughter, which they seemed okay and agreed to the situation. And he fathered 2 children with her, but then they started giving all their daughters over to him, and they were staying at the house. I can tweet one of the articles. It's just an unbelievable story, and he was raping them all. They've all reported that it started between, all of them started between ages 7 and 11. And the neighbors, he didn't live out in the middle of nowhere, and the neighbors would see this 50 with these girls living in the house, and they were like, and the neighbors lodged, several complaints with the authorities, Child Protection Services, whatever, they were calling, complaints were made. And it just said, the thing came back that there wasn't enough evidence to, conduct a search warrant. Why they could, of course, they couldn't surveil the house. And, there's just this man living with all these young girls that very rare, they don't go to school, and they very rarely leave. And the oldest one, the first one that was gifted, they said that he would be walking around holding her hand, and that's, I think that's what prompted a lot of calls. And then obviously they would see these other girls. Now this guy's living alone. Like, where are these girls coming from? So, okay, you don't search warrant, but there, people are lodging, multiple complaints. And of course nobody does anything, until they found out that he fathered children with the oldest daughter. So let me get.
Excuse me, but I tell you what, I will be doing a lot more research, and even though Elizabeth Ann couldn't be with us tonight, I'm sure we're going to be. It just seems like this is just exploding, and I'm sure we'll have somebody else from that community that will come forward, and that's what needs to happen, and I understand she's in the process of filing criminal charges in this case, and that's what needs to be done. All these survivors that and most of these crimes, there is no statute of limitations on them, and just quickly, we've had some pretty good news. I found an attorney actually through Twitter who's in Florida that has expressed the interest to represent anybody that's in that state that he can. Of course, there's always limits, but we've gotten together, with the Traffic Report page on Facebook, and we have 5 or 6, women that are in there that are either having trouble with, the judiciary that have basically stolen their kids, or, CPS. And that this one attorney has come forward. He's now a resource. We don't have anybody that's in Florida, but one of the cases, it started in Florida, and that may be representation. There's what is so crazy, the child rape, there's no statute of limitations on that. But if Department of Children and Families delivers a child into the hands of a child rapist, the statute of limitations is 3 years, which is ridiculous. And I'm sure that's, we're protecting these agencies from, criminal and civil liability, and they're giving these kids, they're trafficking these children, so, we're all learning. But the good news is that this is coming together, as a crowdsourced type of network and community. And these, the survivors are coming forward. We've got people, that's our first attorney, and there's several others that we're, I'm in the process of contacting to, be resources, because I think we have 4 or 5 different states where these the women that have come forward, and a few of them I believe will be on the show, that don't have pressing legal concerns, but we'll get them on as soon as they can. And it's, like I said, their cases are more important than any of this. But when we get somebody that wants to come on and tell their story, and it's not a risk to them or their legal process, they'll be on here, and they are at least getting together as a network to support each other. There's emotional support going on, and what my goal is to get some legal support for these women, because they are, and not just women. I'm sure there's fathers out there that are going through the same thing. We just haven't had one come forward yet, but that's a little bit of good news. So I thought I'd throw that in there while we're in the midst of all this horror.
Well, we've been saying it for the past few shows that CPS, DHS, DFS, whatever we're going to call it, they're that's one of the white whales of, there's a few white whales, but and changing laws and really pulling this apart, and getting back to the situation with the gifting of the daughters. No. I was just saying that it's died down a little bit, but obviously the case of Grace Packer, which is very near and dear to me because it was so close to Philadelphia. That occurred in Bucks County. Then this, the story of Lee Kaplan was also in Bucks County. There was a story of men dressing up as furries and raping a 9-year-old. That occurred in Bucks County, and it's like, then you start thinking, like, is it just a coincidence that everything's happening in Bucks County, or what the hell's going on in Bucks County? And it's a pretty big county, and some's blue collar, some's more affluent, but with all these stories coming out of one, and being pretty close in proximity to Philadelphia, it's like, what is going on? So
yeah, and we're finding this too, and all these survivors that are coming forward, these little, most of them are small towns, but the corruption, in these small towns is no less, it's probably greater per capita than it is in DC, and these judges are corrupt, they're trafficking these kids, they are convicting people of false charges. I mean, it's just I hope we're going to get Neely on here, because her story is, and they're all. I mean, I listen to these stories, and it's just like not even, in what you would think that the realm of reality is. I mean, it's just, it's like another world, and these women are having to deal with this every day. Thanksgiving goes by, and their daughter, or their two sons and their daughter, or their three daughters are they know in the hands of pedophiles, and how they even live with that, I just don't know, but we're going to do our damnedest to organize them, network them, or help them network and get them good, honest legal representation that can fight this. And hopefully there's a lot of we've got a lot of stuff nationally. There's still those sealed indictments. There's 4,000 of them now. I don't know what the fuck they're waiting for. Excuse me, but I'm just my patience is at an end. It's like, unseal the son of a bitches, start putting these people in jail, and let people know what the hell's going on. I mean, that needs to happen like last year. I don't know. I'm getting a little frustrated with what's going on, but it still seems that there are good, positive developments going on. But man, I just.
Well, there are. I mean,
how much longer I can wait.
It's good. Listen, it's going to take a long time to unwind this ball of, this thread.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean you can't undo, hundreds of years of corruption, and in a year and 2 years. I mean, it has to be done very, very, very methodically, or else chaos will ensue.
In my humble opinion, chaos has already ensued. It's just like, fucking get it over with.
Right, but you got to make sure that you got all the right people.
I know.
Yeah, right, exactly. If you want to make sure that the judges are all on the level. Yeah. Before you start sending these people to court, you got to vet everything, because the quote unquote swamp or is the cesspool. It's every it's all encompassing.
Yeah.
And before you start,
they don't call it the octopus for nothing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the tentacles have gotten into everything.
Well, the good news, Conyers is gone, I believe. Al Franken is probably gone.
Conyers is gone?
Pretty much. I mean, I saw that one. I don't know how that woman, who's 80 years old now, and has harbored this shit for 30 years, has it documented where she reported it to the FBI 30 years ago. I mean, I don't see how he can.
I'm sorry.
That was on NBC, or no, that was on CNN, for God's sake. And they're actually being forced to air this stuff. And I don't see how Conyers survives from that. And that dummy, and maybe I hope he does this. He said that he would take down a bunch of Democrats with him if he goes down. Please do. That's not the best. When you're claiming you're innocent, which he has done. It's like, how do you come out and say, well, I'm going to take a bunch. If I go down, everybody else is going down. I mean, they're obviously in panic mode. And where has Debbie Wasserman Schultz gone?
Yeah,
she's Podesta hasn't been seen.
But John, this is like, Conyers is just going to be like another, classic sociopath. I mean, you're 88 years old.
Yeah.
You've been in I think he's 88, 87, 88, 89, whatever the hell he is.
The woman that's accusing him is 80. Oh, she's full of shit. She's got nothing better to do at 80 years old.
Right, at 80 years old, right. And this guy, I mean, listen, this guy, all he's got to do at this point is just walk away.
Yeah.
All he's got to do is just walk away, and, you'll go, and let it all. But no, he's going to, what exactly are you fighting for, dude? Like, what, why, all right, you got accused. Listen, you've been in the house since 1965. 1965, he sold that seat.
Yeah.
And now, which should have gotten you out of there a long time ago to, anyway. But now the stuff's coming out, and
they're all the same. They're all, we talked about this, and I got to have a shout out to Missy, because I talk to her, quite often, and we got to have her back on for more of this psychological profiling, because it's just typical, because these assholes, they don't ever change. They will never give up. They'll the same old shit over and over again. They don't, until you actually physically put them behind bars, it'll never stop. And that's the only solution for these people. I mean, they will never. You could have, and I'm sure there's supposed to be that Hillary and Huma tape. I'm sure even if that came out, they'll be denying it. To it's like if you got pictures, deny it. I mean, they're just that type of sociopath, psychopath, whatever you want to call it. They will never admit, and they will never give up. They're just going to take this. So we have to do the same. I mean, we have to be just as persistent in getting them locked up, whether it's somebody locally that you're having problems like that with, because they're never going to stop. Or all the way up to some of the highest offices in the land. So we have to be just as persistent and single-minded, and I think we are. I know you are.
Oh yeah, I mean, you just brought up Hillary Clinton and persistence, and and stay with it. Okay. I'm gonna heed that advice.
I bet you will.
one day.
You're her worst nightmare.
All right.
Enough said about that.
Yeah. John and I are being cryptic at the moment, but
yeah. Just call us Q. Maybe.
Not quite, but
we should start a Fortran thread. What do you think, Howie?
No, I'm not.
Shit, I can barely figure out Twitter. Shit.
Yeah, I realized a while ago I'm not like 4chan smart or 8chan smart or
yeah.
I'm like vote kind of.
Oh, I've got to, I've got to mention this. Some of the, and I don't even think that came out of Fortran. It came from the Chinese government, who busted one of the Clinton Foundation surrogates, a company. The name escapes me, but good old Mr. Getz, big Clinton Foundation bigwig, who's on the board of directors of this company that has 300 nurseries and kindergartens in China, and all their board of directors have been educated at places like the Australian National University, that's just front for the Clinton Foundation. All their NGOs are. They pay for these scholarships to, that's where they recruit their monsters. And they've busted this school in China where the kids are being drugged. There's needle marks on the children. It's rampant sexual abuse. And the Mr. Getz, Getz is his name, former Clinton Foundation bigwig is on there, but just another coincidence. It's just a coincidence, but there's I think the Chinese government's a little pissed about that. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, being in China, and I mean, I know this stuff, obviously goes on there, but it's not, it will not be, children are extremely, extremely valued. Now, I would say it's not valued in other cultures, but especially, one child policy, children are, held in extremely high regard, and that will not be taken kindly to in China.
Yeah, and 300 of these organizations, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, because this same octopus is probably in India and Pakistan and Africa, running these types of, and obviously in Haiti, Laura Silsby, and we haven't forgotten about her. Yeah, hopefully, this is all going to be prosecuted shortly. But there's a great graphic, and I retweeted it out. But it shows all this, and that did come off of 4chan. But all the tentacles of the octopus of the Clinton Foundation, and it all zeroes back to the Podesta Group, the Clinton Foundation, and missing kids. I'll be damned. And I did tweet that out, and you can see it's fact. I mean, all the interrelationships of all these corrupt organizations globally, and it comes back to circle around the Podesta Group, the Clinton Foundation, and the National Center. So, wow. And that's not theory. That's not, all. Maybe they can explain to us why they're so interrelated. I can't think of a good reason.
Well, you're saying about the indictments, and you want things to go quicker. I mean, right now, with the amount of information that's being put out, once again, we cannot assume that the average guy, average man, woman on the street is paying attention to this. Even though, in our worlds, it's everything, but we're talking about people that we have to find ways to spread the message. And, listen, if it's bringing it up to somebody, or, if everybody told a few people and said, please pay attention to this, it's getting to the point where, bringing up uncomfortable topics to, acquaintances and things like that. I mean, I do it. I do it to pretty much anyone I come into contact with, one way or another, it's like, I don't want to talk about it.
And it is, it's coming out of the closet, and high time too.
Oh, it's more than.
We'll see, and I'll just use this little time too, because I didn't have a chance to talk to you about it. But I know how supportive you've been to Rod Hotham, Justice for Rod, and Tim and Tracy, and Adam Rattertree has taken up that case with a vengeance, and he requested to be on with us, and I'm hoping maybe Thursday that he can come on, and also just to let people know we're branching out a little bit. We're going to try to be doing some Facebook live shows, for lack of a better word, and there might be both of us. It might be you by yourself, might be me by myself, but we're trying to get flexible, because we have so many people coming forward that need to get their stories out. And that's just another resource. Periscope, you might see some of an hour show on Periscope with a particular survivor, but we are branching out, because we're very grateful to UCY, but it's very difficult to get the people that want to come on at midnight 2 days a week. So we're gonna be branching out a little bit, and we just have to stick our toe in the water and and just jump in.
Absolutely. So right. I mean, the more ways to get out there, and if we want to pop on a Wednesday, we can do that. I wanted to bring this up. I think it was on Sunday. I've been talking with Becky. It's now coming up on, or right around like 5 months before the survivors rally. Excuse me for 1 second. I still have a bit of a cold. So we're want to get the memes together, start really start pushing it now, get it out there, and then we have to do the things to get organized, and there's so much to do. But right off the bat, we want to get memes out there. We want to get people retweeting, and Facebook also, and then we want to have people follow the official account of the Survivors Rally, which was at Survivors Rally. So I tweet out, on Sunday I just tweeted from my phone. I very rarely tweet from my phone. I said, please follow, Survivors Rally. Well, one of the Traffic Report listeners, Kathy, comes back that the account is suspended. Right. And I didn't even, I set this thing up, but I didn't even tweet on it, man. I didn't even tweet. I had it set up a while ago, just to have it, just to get the at Survivors Rally was suspended.
Yeah, for no reason. Well,
I don't know what the reason could be, and it never tweeted unless like they treat it as an inactive account or something, and they're suspending accounts that don't tweet within the certain time frame. But I've never heard of that.
Yeah, well, and it's about to get those new rules supposedly go into effect on the 18th of September, 18th of December, and that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know but the big investors, Soros and the Saudi sheikh are no longer invested in Twitter. So hopefully, maybe
Cuban. I've tweeted at Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban made an investment a few months back. But listen, I mean, and whatever happens, we'll keep rolling with the punches. I mean, if
I've got a Gabby account now. I hate to admit it, but I do, just in case,
Yeah, and listen, the idea of having Gab, I mean, it's wonderful, it's great, but it's for the most part, and it's a great place to share information and vote too. But it's not what I want, because I can't reach people that are unaware. Like, everybody on Gab's aware, of many things.
Much. Yeah.
Or they wouldn't be on there. I want to get to the people that are, more interested in, sports, entertainment, and, I want to we need everybody. So,
yeah. Well, hopefully the scumbags that are divested now might have a difference in what they're going to do. And the other thing, Trump's not going to be too happy about this, because apparently that they want to use cookies on and off Twitter for you to be on it, which seems insane. But the Secret Service does not want Trump to do that. So I don't know if they're trying to censor him or all of us. We'll see. Good to go. Thanks, Howie.
Nice.
Everybody.
We'll talk Thursday. You might want to be here Thursday.
Pay attention Thursday.
Pay attention.